do another client earlier today because it was supposed to be online and my internet wouldn't work. So there have been so many issues over the past week with the internet, and I'm like, is it me? Is it something else? Am I just creating this chaos? What's going on? So I apologize.
Don't apologize. You're perfect. We're all perfect. We're all just doing the best we can right now. And there's so many things going on the astral and in the ethers that are affecting our technology right now. And all we can do is be patient. I like to, for those of you tuning in, here's another tip. I really like to ask for help. I ask my angels for help. I ask the Pleiadians for help. They're very technologically advanced. There's lots of other star beings you could ask too, or just in general. And it's amazing what taking a few deep breaths and practicing a little patience will do to help move technology along as well. Because it's about receiving. And if you're wanting to receive and you get overwhelmed, then it gets blocked off and it's hard to.
See, I also feel like that's all about, seriously, I feel like that's been a lot of what it is, especially over the past week. I've had a lot of clients that weren't ready to receive messages, and so, as soon as I get on with them, it's time out, instantaneously. And I don't think people fully understand that their energy and where they're at and coming to people like us is just as important. Because sometimes, especially if they're not in a good place to receive, if they've got chaos happening, or they just found out some news, or they're in a bad place, or they've just had a really bad day, sometimes the spirit's like, nope, today's not the day, because there's a lot of stuff that's going to come up and bring things up, and that actually will stop you from being able to receive the healing that you need to receive in that moment. And so reschedule. It's cool. It's good. I understand life. I had to reschedule with Mandy. I understand life. It's cool. Just come at me and be like, hey, I'm having a rough day. Can you fit me in somewhere else? And I'll be like, yeah, let's do it differently. We're all people, man.
There's nothing wrong with that, with honoring your vessel, speaking your truth, honoring when you need some rest. And at the same time, I think sometimes it's easier lately, especially for empaths, to maybe honor when we need rest and not always be the most honest when we can push it a little further, or maybe use a little bit because we're so used to being, needing to rest, or that being our normal natural state, that, there is a time when you can push yourself just a little bit too. And then sometimes that ends up helping you get the inspiration you need or move the energy out of your body that you need to move.
See, sometimes you just speak my life, and that's literally what's been taking place. Last week we didn't do this show because Crystal was having flare issues, and I was like, I'm not in the right space. Last week was a crazy week, Mandy. Everything that could happen to me last week happened. Okay. But also at the same time, it's come on now. When crazy happens, there's a reason for crazy to be happening, right? So you have to look at it and be like, okay, so this is an atom bomb taking place in this area, and this area. However, I'm sitting here in this space watching the atom bombs take place, and I'm like, okay, so we can react this way, or this way. So why is it going on? And so at the end of the week, is it trash? It's absolutely trash. But I was like, okay, but Crystal handled it all very well. There's been a lot of stuff taking place that 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, I probably would have reacted in a much different way. And this time I was like, it is what it is. I asked for it. And I think that's also another thing when we ask to heal. When we ask for things to be brought to the surface and then they're brought to the surface, we're like, what the hell is going on in our life? And then we're like, oh crap, I asked for this. It's happening because of me. And that's why it's going on. And then we have to look at it very differently. Hello, Heather. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Heather. Crystal, you sound just a little muffled to me. And hi, Heather. Hi, Stacey. If you could let us know if maybe Crystal sounds a little muffled too, we can get that fixed probably pretty easily.
Yes, I hope we can. Yeah, Heather, do I sound okay? Also, to the people who are watching on my personal Facebook page, because I do have people who watch on my personal Facebook page, I can't see your comments. I'm not ignoring you. Hello. I'm not ignoring you, but I always get on every week and I see people who comment, and I was like, oh, I didn't see that come in. And it's probably because I have my personal Facebook as private. So That might be why.
Does this one also share to your Spirit Speaks page? Awesome. Hi, Tina. So, yeah, if you guys are just tuning, a little muffled, Heather said, yes.
Okay, I can like try to remove the headphones, but
Let's
it's
try
such a,
without headphones and see how that sounds. Let's give it a whirl. And in the meantime, I'm just going to keep welcoming everybody. I'm so excited you're all here. We have a lot to talk about tonight. What do you think, Crystal? Let's give it a try.
Can you hear me? Are we good?
10,000 times better.
So cool.
On my side.
So, like,
Ladies, if it doesn't sound good on over the ethers or let us know, but it sounds a lot better to me so far. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm more worried about like the like echo in this space. That's why there's so much.
It is a little tiny bit echoey, but it was way better than the headphones. So it's my preference to work with this for a minute.
Thank you, Heather, for our time tonight.
You know what, Crystal? It is kind of the echo. It makes it like every other word go out now.
Okay.
But let's try. Maybe if we try the headphones again, it won't be muffled. We'll ask the Pleiadians and the angels to help us a little bit to get much clearer sound for Crystal. Please and thank you.
Okay. So should I like try to do this, or should I try the headphones again?
Well, right now you sound pretty good.
Okay. I'm just gonna stop throwing my energy around because maybe that's what's happening.
Okay. Whatever you prefer.
I'm gonna wait and I'll see if you guys at any point in time can't hear me, let me know. So, man, and thank you, Stacy. It's a great book. It was. I'm an empath, and I've known Pat forever, and didn't know half of the stuff that she talked about in that book. I was like,
you are cutting out, sister. We gotta try the headphones. And then Crystal's going to tell you all about the book, The Gifts Beneath Your Anxiety, because there really are. Anxiety is just a symptom that you're not in alignment, I believe, truly. I suffered from severe anxiety for a really long time, and it wasn't comfortable, fun, or easy. However, I started to realize the more I tuned into it, the more I started to heal it, the more I sat with it, that it was really a signal and a sign for me that I wasn't living in alignment with what was best or for my highest good at that time. And it really reflected in my body, in my vessel, presented in the way of severe anxiety. All right, Crystal, let's give it a try.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good.
We'll roll with it.
Hi, Glenda.
Awesome.
Yes. So I was listening to you, and yes, I believe anxiety. I believe all those things that kind of like, because it's not just anxiety. Pat talks about depression. She talks about like all these things that kind of contribute to all these things. But I feel like we really kind of, and it's so weird. It's so weird. I really wish that we could talk about on a bigger perspective people that may have gifts, and I understand that the universe people, a lot of people don't see them as gifts. They like want to look at it the way that it's been put into like scientific facts or, medical facts. So you have depression, you have anxiety, you have things that you're not supposed to see, so schizophrenia and all these other different areas. And I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm just saying that there's a lot of layers to what gifted people see, receive, and experience on a daily basis. And getting to understand those layers that's actually what learning your gifts is about. And so the deeper we understand why are we feeling anxious, it makes us question ourselves in those moments. And it's actually a way for us to heal in that moment, because if you're anxious for no reason, look back on your childhood. Were you living in a drama, anxiety-filled childhood, and maybe you may be addicted to the drama. Maybe you may be addicted to the anxiety that things cause you in situations, and because that's the only thing that makes you feel comfortable, because that's all you know. So it's a love-hate relationship. You hate to be anxious, but at the same time, that's all you know to be. And so when you're in this state of constant, that makes us feel like we're in that box of safety because our safety was never our security growing up. And so that's our turn to. And so when we start to feel peace, we're uncomfortable with peace sometimes because it doesn't feel right. And then it starts to feel crazy. And if you're in that middle space of growing, we don't always know how to kind of put the two and two together. And so it's helpful for us to really determine where that anxiety is coming from and get to the layers of why it's taking place. I always tell people, like, if you wake up in the morning and you know at the end of the day that you're a peaceful person, you're not angry, you're not frustrated, if you know these things about you, then it's easier to kind of like dissect it within your brain and change your thought patterns, because anxiety to me is really just an AI process of our brain taking over, because our spirit self didn't essentially know how to be the forefront of our upbringing, so we don't know how to raise that to our like sensibilities, I guess. It was pushed away so much that our brain just went on autopilot, and that's our control center now. And so we're just used to letting it take over, and that's mostly what gifts are, I think, is kind of retraining your spirit self to be the forefront and allowing yourself to kind of take over the keys and the steering wheel to your own life and allow yourself to get out of that autopilot stage that most of us are in most of the time.
I love that. I agree. I feel like it's an opportunity to learn that actually our minds, our bodies are just faithful servants to our minds, and it's really the vehicle to our dreams. It truly is our temple, our magical vessel and way to experience this realm and this 3D reality, if you will, which is very sensually based. It's all about experiencing all of our different senses, whether it's taste, touch, smell, psychic abilities, sensing energy, feeling in tune. And when we are in a constant state of overwhelm, or we're running like constant loops of anxiety, PTSD, traumas, drama, all kinds of things, and what happens is these worries, these feelings that we're having, feelings are just energy and motion. That's what emotions are. And so what happens is then our vessels respond to what's happening in our thoughts, when really we're not taught that way. When we get a symptom, we're like, oh no, something's wrong with my body. I got to go get it diagnosed and check it out and see what's wrong and all of this, which you will find out biologically what's wrong. But a lot of times we haven't really been getting to the root of it, and we're realizing more and more, and it's being studied scientifically. I love following the HeartMath Institute and Dr. Joe Dispenza and so many different people and organizations who are like scientifically studying how these energies transmute into our bodies and then what it does. So there's a reason that we want to release this. There's a reason we want to move into peace, but we don't know how to do it quite yet. And like Crystal was saying, it takes serious work and reconditioning and reprogramming to learn that actually our bodies, when symptoms come up, it's a result of what we were thinking and co-creating in our world.
Yeah. It's funny because like once you sit with yourself and you start this whole, like when you first start, I'm like, okay, ask yourself, like sit down. You know how when you're writing something, or I can't remember, take you back to school and you're, doing this project where you have to write a story or something, and they have you like, put the circle in the middle with what the main frame is going to be, and then all these little things out in the middle. I did that with myself when it came to peace. Like, what is your happiness? What does peace feel like to you? What does it look like to you? Because I didn't know. I had been so taken down this train of like crazy chaoticness that I was so lost in myself that I didn't even know what happiness was. Like I thought I was happy, but obviously I wasn't, because my life was hell.
None of us weren't taught that.
I was like, so, sit down with yourself and figure out what it feels like. What does peace feel like to you? Is it comfortable? Is it safe? Is it security? Is it quiet? Is it, being surrounded by people who understand you or love you or listen to you? I mean, because we can't ever be without conflict, and I think that that's like one of the things that people run from when they're utilizing their gifts. I like how my guides give it to me, because they're like ultra spiritual people. That's how they give it. They're like, you have these people over here. It's kind of like the really far right wing and really far left wing, that they're completely opposite from one another. You have the people who are like so like broke down and they're like atheists and they don't believe in anything, and then you have these people over here who are like, I'm this guru of everything, and they're just living in this state of being where everything is happy and we're creating world peace and we're creating this. And it's like, okay, yeah, world peace for me, yes. But we also have to understand that there has to be conflict somewhere because it'll never show us life. If we were all in this state of like everybody looks the same, everybody feels the same, everything was the same, we wouldn't grow. There would never be conflict or resolution or feelings or anything else that help us determine to be better or what we're doing wrong. And so those conflicts are also part of our growth, and we have to be grateful for those conflicts that take place in our life, because without them we wouldn't know how to be better. And so it really just helps us kind of determine where we want to grow to. That's all it is. We don't have to hate those things. We don't have to hate those people. We don't have to hate those situations. We just have to see it for what it is. It's an experience of growth. And it's happening because I said I wanted to grow. And so pat yourself on the back and be like, good job, girl. You freaking caused this for yourself. But at the end of the day, it's also growth. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to grow. And that's why there's so much taking place right now, because it's creating a stage of growth for what we've been saying for years we wanted to have. And do I believe in world peace? I do, but I don't believe in it on Earth. I don't think that Earth is the place for that to be. I think that's going to come like afterwards. I don't know. Maybe I'll be Pleiadian then, and I'll just be like in a state of complete love and be like, yay, I've created it for myself. But I really think that Earth is a place to really get in those emotions and those feelings. And it's been a beautiful gift to be able to understand perspective from spirit. Because if we really, really want to digest feelings, we would understand that every single thing that we feel is stemmed from love in some way. You can't be jealous of a spouse for cheating unless you loved them to begin with. You had to love them on some level to be jealous and frustrated when they cheated on you, or to be angry or to be disappointed. It's because we love those people to begin with. And so every negative energy, every something is also stemmed from that first form, which is love. And so we also have to understand there's love in all these things too. And without our bodies, this human suit that we try to run from, we wouldn't be experiencing those things. And when you're dead, you don't have all those different layers to what this is. To be able to touch, like to feel this is such a gift, because spirit doesn't have that. So really, our skin suit is such a blessing in disguise, and we don't really know how to understand that because life gets overwhelming sometimes and that anxiety takes the forefront. And that's why balance is so important, because we got to balance our, spirit self and understanding that it's just a time and space. It's just today. Today might be a crappy day. Yeah, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It's cool. You woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That's fine. If that's how you want to see it, that's cool. But it's just today. It's just right now. You woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning. You don't have to feel that way at 12 o'clock because that was hours ago. You have a choice throughout your day to change and utilize how it is that you see everything. And so everything's kind of a blessing and a moment of growth for us to experience. So it is what it is. There's been so much growth in my life over the past week, man. I needed last week, I think, to pull myself back together and be like, ah.
Was the growth, did you feel like it was like paradigm shifting in the sense of your perspectives or the way you saw something and things started to integrate in you? That's where I real growth and validation is. All of a sudden you're like, whoa, I see through a different lens, a different perspective with myself, with others, with this situation.
There's been so much, if you look at different situations, I'll talk about my shoulder just because that I deal with my shoulder and the pain that is created by that.
Yeah.
So the shoulder itself, when that happened, it was 2012 when that injury happened. And that injury, this is what all came to me, the bombardment of this last week, because I found out I was going to have a complete freaking surgery on my shoulder that's going to take me out forever, and I was not happy about that. I was plenty peeved off, pretty messed up about that. Just because I've seen so many doctors in between then and now that really dropped the ball and should have understood, because they completely chose not to listen to me. And so there's a lot of, that coming to the surface too. There was a lot in the mix of everything that took place. But in 2012,
what do you think that is coming up? Like releasing the grief for yourself that wasn't being heard before?
Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, Crystal, look, I get it. I get where you're coming from. I understand, but you're not living in 2000. This is literally how it came to me. I was sitting in the car at the grocery store, angry at my life. And I took a deep breath and I was like, Crystal, okay, you are not living in 2018 right now. Because 2018 was when I saw the last doctor, and the last doctor that I saw told me that I was a pain seeker,
Me
and that
too.
I was making up everything, and that my rotator cuff tear that he saw on the MRI then was not anything that was going to create pain the way that I was saying I was having pain. It was nothing, and just said that I was a pain seeker. And I was livid because I was like, I have a torn rotator cuff. You know I have a torn rotator cuff. Okay, so since 2018 to now, and I think he didn't do the proper, like, I feel like everybody just dropped the ball in doing the proper looking. I think they all just kind of stopped. And once they got whatever form of information they wanted, they didn't proceed and go into it deeper to see what all the structural issues were from the injury that I had skiing. And so when the first surgery happened, this surgeon was just a quack in the sense that he knew nothing about my injury. He dealt with geriatric patients. Okay, I was a sport person. I lifted weights. I was very athletic, and he didn't look at what was going on in my personal life. And he dealt specifically with geriatric patients. But I also created that energy. I brought him into my life because at that moment in time, I was not willing to hear myself or listen to myself, and so I created somebody who was just going to give me whatever answer was in front of my face, just like I was telling myself what I wanted to hear, essentially. And so that's exactly what he did. So it was the energy I created.
Wanted to hear nothing was wrong in the moment.
Yep. So he did this crazy surgery. I ended up with way more pain. I couldn't use my arm for 6 months after I literally could not move my arm for 6 months after the surgery. And I had to teach myself how to get my range of motion back, and I had to do all this stuff myself. I bought like Total Gym and youth stretching and all this fun stuff. And I was like super excited. 2012 was when that took place. 2012 was when I met Pat, and that's when my spiritual journey started. So that's when all this took place. But before this took place, I also begged them. Like, I was an atheist. I say all the time I was an atheist. So I remember sitting here, hi, Onion Muffin, hello. When I was sitting there, I was like, hey, you know, if there is a God, if there is people out there, if there is somebody listening that's bigger than me or above me, I need something to change because I was done. Like, I was in such a state of depression that if my son wouldn't have been alive, I definitely would have committed suicide and I wouldn't be here today. I was done. And so I was sitting there begging them to make my life different and get me out of medical assisting because it was sucking the soul out of my life. I hated that job. And it wasn't necessarily, it was just the medical field in itself and how everything was a Band-Aid fix. I just hated that situation. And so I ended up having the skiing injury, okay? The skiing injury made it so I could not be a medical assistant. Like, completely took me out, just like I asked. And so I think it's important for people to remember, just like me, I didn't see this until now, and I'm like, holy hell, Crystal, that's your fault. But at the same time, we ask for things, and when we ask for things, we can't be the determining factor in how it comes to us. You know, we ask for it to happen. The universe is going to make it happen the way that they see it needing to happen based on what their perception is, where they are, and they're like, hey, you want it to happen now? Boom, here you go. And injury, can't move my arm for 2 years, and this is the state of being that I'm in. And then it was like, poor me, I'm a victim, and all this nonsense, and I can't do this, and I can't do this. And so it's like, okay, you know, Spirit, really, I got to commend them, because boy, do they put up with us. We ask for it, and then once we get it, it's like nothing makes us happy sometimes. And, you know, it's just a state of growth, and I feel for, I mean, I'm sure Mandy gets this because she talks to those beautiful ascended masters and those angels and those beautiful guides every day, and I'm sure they get it. They're like, hey, yo, you're human, skin suit, got it. You don't understand yet, you'll get it. It'll drop on you. You're doing the work. We'll just wait over here patiently until you say sorry.
They can't feel the same way we can in this realm, so they can't feel quite the same frustration, but they would if they could, because they're just there, you know, for service and not being used often.
It's craziness. It's pure craziness. Like, and then to sit back and like actually get through the motions, because then you fast forward to 2018, where I finally decided to trust the doctor again and go to a doctor, and it was just the most horrible experience. But I was also in a horrible state of mind, okay? I was in a horrible state of mind. And I was in the state of mind where I was right, everybody else was wrong, and I wasn't willing to listen anyway. And was I really wanting healing at that point? Probably not. I was not ready to heal. And also, once again, we're looking at a state of being where, was I a victim in that situation? Yes, in the sense that he didn't listen empathically, and he also chose to make a quick, hasty decision based on me using the word pain, because I never asked for pain medication. I said I was in pain. So he made a hasty decision based on certain things that were taking place in the medical field at that time. However, I also have to look at what I was doing that allowed him to be a part of my space. And so there was a lot that took place in that moment. And so was I a victim to how he treated me? Kind of, yes, but at the same time, I don't look at it as a victim situation. I look at it as a situation that I needed to understand, to trust my gut, trust myself, and understand what I was experiencing at that time. And so I did, and I walked away from him, and I said, I'm not seeing you anymore because you're just not listening to me. And there was a whole slew of things that ended up taking place. But then I was sitting in the car, and I was like, I don't know, like a month and a half, 2 months ago, I think it was probably 2 months ago, I went to my family doctor, and I was like, okay, something's got to give. This is not normal, what's going on right now. This is not just flaring. This is not just this. There was something dramatically happening, because the pain some days is unscalable, is how I will put this. And so when you're flaring, Mandy, you know what a flare feels like. Flare is like, you have all these different things. You're tired, your body hurts in certain areas, but it's achy. It's not like down completely, unless you're exhausted and not taking care of your body and eating the proper nutrition, which is also healing, by the way. There's all these different things. And so I'm like, something is just not right, because it's getting to the point where I can't move my arm again. I can't grip things. I can't hold on to things. Like, everything's falling out of my hand, and I just can't do things with my hand at all. And I'm like, this is just, something's not correct. And so I asked her to send me to another orthopedic surgeon, and this time I got to pick my orthopedic surgeon. And so I was sent to the one that I asked for, and I had so many people be like, go to this one because she's awesome. And I know somebody who had surgery at the same place, and they were amazing. And so I picked them, and I'm in the right place to finally figure it out. That's why I picked her. I asked for that because I said, okay, guys, now we're in the right space. Now we're in the right space. Let me hear it. Let me see. Let me figure it out. Whisper in the ears. I thank the angels for whispering in the ears of that doctor what was going on and helping it be seen in a way that she could fully understand, so we could finally move forward and start to close the chapters of the past 10 years of my life. And she went away because she also works in a different state. And 2 weeks later, I'm like, I still haven't heard anything on the MRI results. And I'm like, usually if you don't hear anything, we all know that that's cool. Like, it means nothing's wrong. So I kind of felt like a nuisance calling their office, and I'm like, hey, did you guys get any results? Because I felt like I needed to call them. And the lady called me back, and she was like, yeah, so you have a torn rotator cuff? And she was like, it's not just torn. There's a lot going on in there. She was like, she needs to see you because we're going to have to do this. And I was like, And I was like, I was so confused, because my rotator cuff was torn in 2018, and I was told that I was a hypochondriac and it wouldn't cause the pain that I was telling everybody I was experiencing. And so I was so confused, and I'm like, what the heck? So I went to MSU, and I picked up the results. And when I picked up the results and I read those, I was livid. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Because there's no way that this could have happened between 2018 and now, because I haven't been able to use my arm. I can't run. I can hardly walk, because the vibrations of me doing those things actually cause pain into my bicep tendon and into my arm. Oh no. I've got every major tendon in my arm is completely torn. The one that they reattached to my bicep tendon is peeling away like a freaking banana from the pin. There is all sorts of chaos happening in this shoulder now. And so I was angry, and I cried, and I'm sitting there so frustrated. And I was sitting at the store, and I'm like, hold up a second, Krista, wait a second. First off, you're peeved off at them for giving you answers that you asked them to do. You asked them to give you these answers. You said, hey, I'm in the right space right now, and I would really like for you guys to finally figure out what's going on, because I would really like it to be fixed. And then the moment you figure out, you lose your shit, you start crying, you act like a psycho, and now you're pissed off because it gave you exactly what you wanted to hear. What the hell? Like, you can't keep asking them for things if this is how you're going to react in every situation when they bring it to the surface. You're asking them because you're saying you're in the right space, but obviously you weren't in the right space because this was your reaction, so you need to calm yourself down. Then I sat with myself after that, took my breath, because I had to recenter myself and, kind of be like, okay, you have the right to be frustrated, because I think these are the actual injuries that took place 10 years ago, and I think that's what was frustrating me. And so, like, why did nobody see this to begin with? Because they're torn bad. There's no way that I could have done this just by living my life and doing nothing. But then I was like, okay, wait a second, because then I was really angry. Hi, Sophia. Then I was really angry at the doctor that I saw in 2018, and I'm like, okay, but hold up a second. You have every right to feel like he let you down. You have every right to feel like he didn't hear you and understand you. But at the end of the day, you're not 2018 Crystal now. You're 2021 Crystal. Okay?
Yes.
2018 Crystal only exists in the past. And it exists in a space inside of you that was kind of mistreated in that moment the way that you see through your perspective. She's not here anymore. And so as I can understand that person needs some healing and that Crystal needs to be loved and she needs to be held and she needs to be hugged right now. Hi, Denise, I love you. She needs that right now for herself. I understand that. So we're going to sit with 2018 Crystal and call her into this space. Once again, Louise, Hay, and Mandy, thank you. We're going to call her into this space right now, and we're going to have a conversation with her, and we're going to say, see, hon, we hear you. I listen to you, and I'm here with you. But we're 2021 Crystal, and we know how to handle things differently because we're not that girl anymore, and we've grown. And so this is one of those times that you kind of need to buck up, Buttercup, because this is a situation. Yes, it sucks, but you know what? You're with somebody who's going to finally fix this problem. The universe has placed you in the right hands, and this is going to be the answer to the prayers that you've been looking for 10 years. So let's fix it. Let's get it taken care of, and let's just be good with what we're creating now. It's probably going to be hard work. It is going to be frustrating for us sometimes, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to be fine, and it's going to be good, and I'm going to finally be able to live my life and do those things that I wanted to do on some level that I've been looking for, and this is the closure that I've needed. So that has been my growth over the past week, and it's been a roller coaster, Mandy.
It sounds like it.